The three of us had no background in dentistry. We saw there was going to be a big dental convention in Chicago. That one event really gave us clarity on what we needed to do to help people who grind their teeth and produce custom night guards for cheaper. So we started off as a Shopify brand. Now we are the largest custom night guard company in the US.
Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Today I'm joined by Samuel Goodman, co-founder of Jiggy. Hey Samuel, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me. Excited for our chat and look forward to it.
You built an amazing brand that we are going to talk about in a minute, and you have done what many founders are looking to doing whenever they found the brand, which is, going into Walmart, Target, and of course having an online presence. So I'm sure that this episode will be packed with value, no pressure at all. But why don't we start with your background? How long did you start, Jiggy, and what were you doing before doing that?
Yeah, so I was in college. I was a senior about to graduate, and one of my best friends who I was living with came up to me and he said, I grind my teeth at night. I just purchased a really expensive night guard from my dentist. Only problem is I lost it. Insurance doesn't cover it. So really my only option now is to either buy a new guard at full price or go to CVS or one of the pharmacies and buy a one size fits all guard that really doesn't work as well. It's bulky and just long-term won't help the situation. So he came to me and his other twin brother, the three of us were living together. And he said, we should research this and see if there's a way to, help people who grind their teeth and produce custom night guards for cheaper using the same dentist quality materials. So we decided to do some research. The three of us had no background in dentistry. I'm an ecom major. They were both marketing majors. But after doing some research, we found the space to be super interesting, and we saw there was going to be a big dental convention in Chicago. We decided to just fly down there and go check out the latest tech and equipment and meet people. So we were these three college students among dentists and really senior people at some of these dental brands, just walking around trying to figure out what each machine was and the best way to make these night guards. We ended up finding out that 3D printing was the latest technology and we'd be able to manufacture these guards super cheap if we had the right 3D printer. So we pulled our savings together and ended up buying a small 3D printer in the summer, just messing around with it, learning to use it, and trying to figure out the best way to actually print these. That's really the story of how we started Cheeky, and definitely been
That's
a
a
long
great story,
ride.
and I assume it must have been intimidating to go to that event full of experts, as you said, in the dental industry, and you three knowing little to nothing about the industry. How did you three, both of you, how did you feel back then?
Yeah, it definitely was an experience for us. We went in just pretending that we had this company and we had nothing at the time and just being like, hey, we're looking to do this and that, and trying to make it seem like we knew what we were talking about, even though, to be honest, looking back, we had no clue. But that one event, or I would say weekend in Chicago, really gave us clarity on what we needed to do to bring this to life. We ended up finding a printer. We found a 3D scanner, which is what we'd need to scan the impressions that people take to get the custom mold. So that's where we got our foundation of the technology we would use. And our next step really was to speak to potential customers and see if would be something they're interested in. So we built a landing page. We spent a few bucks a day on Google Ads trying to collect phone numbers and emails of potential teeth grinders. And we did hundreds of calls, every day for a month, and just tried to understand what the pinpoints were for these people and really what they wanted. And that's when we said, okay, this is a viable idea. Cheeky will really help millions of people across the US. And once we had all that data, we got together and set up our, dental lab and just started really sending out our first impression kits to
Interesting. So
customers.
it wasn't an e-commerce store right off the bat. It was more of a, you know, building like a sort of a pipeline, but with the intention of learning more about your potential customers' pain points.
Yeah, I would say the first like customers were friends and family. We wanted to test the product, make sure it was good. Then we set up our Shopify store. And the people who we had spoken to, we gave them the link and they were our first beta testers and users. And they helped us really perfect the product and were willing to work with us to tell us, hey, maybe this doesn't fit on this side or this is too thick, too thin. And that's how we worked with all those initial customers to really perfect our product and then start scaling on Shopify,
Yeah.
obviously through
Yeah,
Google
because,
Ads.
I mean, there's no right and wrong. There are as many playbooks as people on the planet, but I this is great. And actually, I think that most people that I spoke with, that I've spoken with over the years that started a brand at some point, they all started by, creating a Shopify store, run some ads, and, you know, trying to expect, conversions, traffic, everything. But you approached it in a different way. You set up landing pages for us, I understood. And actually, the main objective was to get insights from customers before and get on the call with them to understand their pain points and then build up from there. So that's clever.
Yeah, we thought like if we're building this for the customer and we have no experience in dentistry, the only way this is going to work is if we actually spend time speaking to them, learning from them, working with them, and making sure our product aligns with what they need. And we could remove the friction of going to the dentist, the price barrier, and just make it something also fun that they enjoy to get every 3 months because we started as a subscription service. Night guards get gross and dirty. They get the bacteria. So our whole point was we'll send you a new one for free every 3 months if you sign up to our subscription plan. So you pay once a year and every 3 months you get a new night guard. And the beauty of this is that you only need to take an impression once because once we 3D scan your impression, we can store that into the cloud. And unless you get dental work or you have any changes, you won't need to retake your impressions and we could just keep shipping you product without you having to leave your house or really do
Yeah,
anything
I use
at
them
all.
at night already. And yeah, I get what you mean that they grows over time and you need to find a replacement, but then where you find it. So yeah, I can really see the pain point firsthand and how you solve it with a subscription is very smart. So again, please take me back in time. Like this is still pre-pandemic, right?
This was pre-pandemic, so we launched the business in September of 2018. That's when we went online and started testing with different ads. We had no experience using Meta or Google. We didn't have an agency at the time. We were fully bootstrapped, just scraping together what we could. And we were just making these static ads on Canva, different other platforms, and just pitching them to Meta. What I can say though, from my memory of that time, is that customer acquisition cost was much lower. So even though we didn't have the best creative at the time, it still worked and we were able to gain traction and bring customers in. We were also the first company in the space to do custom night guards at home on a subscription service. So I think that helped
Yeah.
as well at the time.
This is a sixth season of a podcast, and over the years, we've been discussing with a lot of, brand founders, operators, and experts in the space. And with some of them, we discussed, at length the evolution of e-commerce. And to your point, pre-pandemic and even more, I would say 2018 to be more accurate. As you said, it was a money-making machine. Meta was a money-making machine. You put $1 in and you got, I don't know if 10, but more or less 5, 10 out easily with really ugly ads. Everyone talks about ugly ads, but back then ads weren't even a priority, even for media buyers. They were just something that nobody looked at and everything worked. But then things changed
Yeah.
after 2021 with the tracking issues, iOS 14 and all this stuff. So going, moving forward now in time, you I can sense that the first thing that you developed was the online store before going into retail, right?
Yeah, so we started off as a Shopify brand. We built that up, started serving thousands of customers, and now we are the largest, I would say, night guard, custom night guard company in the US, providing direct-to-consumer services. Um, I would say since 2018, we also expanded into other product lines such as custom retainers, sports guards. We launched our LED whitening kit, our water floss, our toothbrush, and most recently we just launched our mouth tape product. We also have a collagen option for females, and we just launched our snore guard, which is used for sleep apnea as well. These are all online products, and it wasn't until really 2024 that we were able to get our first meeting with Walmart and really start to talk about how's this going to look like in retail, and do we even have the capabilities to fulfill for such a big box retailer?
So before going there, could you please tell the audience why you decided to expand, the product lines? Because, I speak with a lot of founders through the agency, through the podcast, and I know that I have seen that both approaches work for different brands. Some brands, eight-figure brands, have decided to stick to one product line or product type, let's say, and some others have have done the same that you have done, which is expanding categories to grow. So for those founders listening to this, what was your thinking process to decide to do what you ended up doing?
Yeah. So when we started, like night guards was our mission and our only belief, but really it was after customer requests. Our goal was always to be in contact with the customer throughout the whole process. We would send out question surveys, we would call them, speak on the phone, and what we learned was that they really wanted us because they loved our brand. We were helping them sleep better at night. They wanted us to expand into different products. Some people wanted whitening kits, some people wanted flossers, and they said, listen, you should definitely look into this. We would be customers. We're already buying the night guard. So we decided, to do more research into the space, which was already packed. So many companies were doing flossers, whitening kits. We wanted to do something that was a little different. We wanted one to be a fun brand and make sure the experience when you got your product was amazing, but two, be super clean. We wanted to target people with sensitive teeth, only use clean ingredients, and really serve products that would help without causing damage. Like some brands maybe use more harmful chemicals in their whitening serum. We chose to do this. Maybe you need to use our kit for a few extra to other on the market, but it's going to be fully clean. It's going to be good for your life, and long term, it's going to be a great product that you can.
So you said that in 2024, you got your first meeting with Walmart. How did that happen? How did you get the meeting?
Yeah,
How did that go? Was it only one meeting? Was it many of them?
yeah. So we tried to get Walmart for many years before that. I would say starting 20, we started emailing by LinkedIn, trying to get agencies to get us in, pitching them, but nothing. We just had radio silence from them. It wasn't really working. And in 2024, I decided to apply to Walmart Open Call, which is a program for businesses based in the US with a lot of their manufacturing in the US to be able to apply and get a meeting. So I applied to that. Next thing I knew, like a month later, I got an invite to fly to Bentonville and go meet with the buyers for the oral healthcare department. So that's the first meeting we ever got with Walmart. We went in, pitched our products. They liked what we had, but their main concern was, one, how's this differentiated from what's already on shelf? And two, you need to be, the cheapest on shelf. They want to provide the best quality product at the cheapest price to their customers. So we pitched, we didn't really hear back for a while. And then I would say a year later, we got another email to come for a line review. And we went, we spoke with the buyer. We pitched him our water floss, which is our current product in Walmart stores. And we had, a unique selling point. One was price, and two, We have a patented gravity ball on our floss and different features which aren't available on some of the other options. So the buyer took a chance on us, and that's how we got into our first store with Walmart. And 2 years later, we have a great relationship with them and super grateful, that we're able to be in their stores.
And what's your advice to anyone listening to this who is about to pitch Walmart? What do they? You mentioned a thing or two they value. The product stands out and is, you know, delivers a great value for the best price possible. But what else can you say about that meeting?
Yeah. But I think the number one thing is know their customer. Go to Walmart, whatever category you're in, go to a few different stores, maybe different. Look at the shelf, take a note of what they're, speak to the managers of the store, see what's doing well, what isn't. And just based on, go stores, you can sort of map out products that could be a complement to what's on shelf, substitutions, or different things. So for us, we always go walk the Walmart shelf, and that's how we, start our initial brainstorm on potential new products we could pitch them. So I would say definitely go into a meeting if you can get one, knowing exactly what's on shelf, the price point for each item, and why you'd be a strong fit.
So once you gotta be patient, right? Because you went for that first meeting, which took a while to get, and then a year later they called, so you do a live demo. How did that go?
It was, listen, we were waiting patiently for a year, not knowing. Like, part of me thought, maybe we're too small of a brand or they're just not interested. But when we did get that meeting, we prepared really well. We flew out, we made our pitch to the buyer and said, listen, we're willing to work with you on whatever it takes, price, any changes to the product. And I think the buyer wanted to take a chance on us. He saw three young, hungry guys really wanting to make a difference. And I think like just being genuine and showing that you care about the Walmart customer as your top priority and how you can help them. That's what's going to get you into the store more than being, a huge brand with a lot of sales and so many different products.
What happened? You got into one store as a test, got into multiple ones.
So we started as doing a test run, I think in a few hundred stores. And then, after that, now we go every year for line review because we're part of different modulars. And it's really like a numbers game, looking at how well you perform sales, do people like your product? And that's how you're going to get an increase in stores. So we're very data driven. And when we go to our meetings, we compile everything from sales to reviews and social media presence. And we invest a lot in organic videos showing people we are at Walmart and then targeting, those geolocation next to the stores that we're in. And it doesn't start once you're in, or that's not the end of it. That's just the beginning. Once you get in, you need to drive sales, whether it's through promotions, through marketing, or through different things you can do with Walmart. But I thought getting in, that was, you're on shelf, things are going to be easy, but no, is once you get on shelf, that's when the hard part starts.
From the DTC world, as many brands that, launch into Walmart or any other retail store, they do the same. What were your main learnings or anything that you have underestimated or didn't know? As you said, getting on the shelves is just the beginning, but what are those, things that are specific about retail that you don't see online?
Right. Yes, I'd say number one is patience, because working with these big brands, it's going to take a long time between communications to actually get things done. And two, the logistics part. For example, you need to test your products, whether it's through UL or Beru Veritas, and that could take a long time. You have to do pre-production testing, production testing. You need to get work certificates, and there's a lot of, planning involved that we weren't aware of before. And that alone, almost a year to get done. So I would say make sure even before you go in, if you get a meeting with a buyer, know exactly what requirements either Walmart, Target, or whoever you're speaking to needs for that specific product. So you can already start testing prior to your meeting conversation, because that's something that really took a toll on us. we actually were delayed in our in-store opening because these tests took longer than expected, and we just weren't familiar, didn't really know about all this bureaucracy that's required.
And what about the SKUs? Did you start with only one SKU or only a handful of them or all of them?
So we started with one SKU, which is the water flosser, and we're working with Walmart to make new products for them to be in store, whether it's some of our existing product line or create new products especially for Walmart. Online, we have our other products with them, and same with Target. We actually started with one product, the night guard, and online we have some of our other products launching in July as well.
What about Target? Does it get easier to get into the second or third or fourth retail store after you got into Walmart?
I would say you could say it's easier just because now you have the connection with the buyer and you have someone to speak to, but I wouldn't say it's easier in terms of they're going to take their time. They're going to want to review all of the data, and probably there's hundreds of people pitching for that same shelf space. So it's you, what you present. You got to get lucky as well. And but at the end of the day, the buyer's going to make the best decision for their shelf and what they think will drive the most revenue per door.
Besides, retail, because it's something that we cover here in this podcast too. What happened, after launching to retail in DTC? Did you see any halo effect or is the other way around? Because you and many other people who've been on the podcast mentioned that, of course, you need to drive traffic to the shelves, which is one of the main things that people overlook when they launch into retail. But what about the other way around? Is there any halo effect when you launch into retail, like awareness from the shelves to the online, or not that way?
I think now we're definitely seeing a halo effect. I don't think it was instant. I think now we've been in Walmart for a little bit over a year and a half, and we're definitely starting to see some of Walmart customers coming to buy, other products from our site. But I wouldn't say it was instant, and I wouldn't say it was so significant. I think it's as you increase your door count and your presence, and even in your packaging, maybe you could put, certain things that push those customers to try out some of your other products. But I would say you need to test different things and just again be patient, and you will see, I think, personally from our experience, a halo effect on your direct to consumer side.
Have you seen or have you experienced any, I don't know, or have you seen that it cannibalized your online sales? I mean, retail cannibalized your online sales, or do you think it's a compliment for you?
I think for us right now, it's a compliment because the product that is in Walmart isn't our core online product, which is the night guard. So I don't think it's been cannibalizing sales. I think actually they complement each other being in the same category. And hopefully we can cross sell between, the two types of customers.
And again, for everyone listening that is looking to going into retail while keeping their online store and growing both channels, how did the team evolve when you got into retail?
Yeah, so we're a very lean team in terms of like actual employees. It's just myself, my two co-founders, and we have another team member in our New York office. We've relied heavily on agencies. So when we got into Walmart, we hired, a local agency that has expertise working with them that knows hire, and we work through any challenges we have. I definitely say that if you get a Target or a big box uh, retail store, important to either hire someone or to partner help you navigate some of these. They've really been invaluable.
What are your plans, for 2026? In the last few years, again, we've been chatting with many founders, and the last few years were tricky to say the least. Of course, it depends on the brand and the industry, but I could say that, election year 2024, the tariffs in 2025. So the industry was not in the best place. E-commerce as an industry keeps growing, but, everyone was worried about different things throughout the years. 2026 seems to be a little bit different so far. So what are your plans in terms of, getting into more retail stores, launching new products, expanding the DC presence? what's in your plans for 2026?
Yeah. So retail is really huge for us. We're really gonna try and, you know, increase our store count with all of our current partners, as well as try and partner with some of the other department stores where we think we'd be a good fit. We are definitely developing new products as we have for the past 8 years. We're hoping to launch at least two new products in the upcoming year, and really as well grow our online presence. We're now investing a lot on new creative. We brought on new creative team members, and it's not like it used to be with Meta, as you were saying, where you could just throw ads at it. So now really we want to invest most of our budget in testing different angles, different options, and see what works and what doesn't. And what we've learned really is that, you might invest in 100 ads and only one or two actually work, but that's just the
Yeah.
business we're in
Is
now.
Meta your
So
main customer acquisition channel?
Meta and Google are our two main customer acquisition
And have you
channels for
tested
sure.
TikTok Shop?
We've tested TikTok Shop, but our price point is a little too high, I would say, to be there. I think the average order value on TikTok Shop, at least when we were testing it out, was significantly below our AOV. So I don't think it was the best fit, but we're definitely now investing in TikTok ads and build media campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how
Like any
that goes.
channel, like they evolve. So for us, for example, TikTok ads, when it started, it was for low ticket items mainly. But then currently for some brands that sell, I don't know, $2,000 products, it works very well. Not the shop. We don't have experience in the shop, but with ads, we saw that evolution. So I'm sure that if it hasn't already happened, it will happen pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially also now with app loving coming into the mix, there's more and more channels, the brands, market.
Now, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you're currently at work and doing an MBA, right?
I am. So last year I decided that, I wanted to brush up, polish on my business skills, and I thought it would complement the Cheeky as well. And a great for me to do an MBA. So I applied and I started MBA August at Bourne. I just finished actually my today. I have one more. Honestly, it's been an incredible and valuable experience. I've met so many interesting, smart, like-minded people, made new friends, and I think, it's just an amazing experience for whoever has the ability to do it.
Anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to tell the audience?
I think really when it comes to like direct to consumer and retail, which is my core business, what I've been doing for a long time, I would say just keep trying. For example, just in my case, when I didn't hear back from Walmart or Target for years, I kept pushing, I kept emailing, and don't give up. Sometimes it takes a lot of time and just keep going until, it will work out. Eventually, you will get a response. And in our case, it took, I think, 6 years, but we got there. Now we're in store and we're hoping to build, a sustainable business built
Yeah,
on
that's
retail.
great advice. Actually, for what it's worth, again, from all the over 240 interviews that we have done here is, listen to all kinds of stories, but what many of them have in common is that even product development took, in some cases, 2 5 years. Probably that's a lot, but of course it depends in the industry you're in and the kind of product you're developing and the context. But
Yeah.
when you put yourself in their shoes, it's like 2 years, sometimes a week, a month, a year sounds like a lot. 2 years, 5 years developing a product, it's a lifetime, right? Only to validate that after you created it and see if it works in the market. So things take time. Everyone reads the, stories on LinkedIn, TikTok, or any other, platform, and everything looks instant, but it's not that way, really.
Yeah, no, you have to make sacrifices and be willing to fight for it if it's something you really want. And I think every entrepreneur, you know, has to go on that journey. And if they really want to succeed and get their product out there, they're going to fight for it and do everything in their power, whether it takes 1 year, 6 years. And that's really the only way to build something meaningful.
Samuel, where can people go to learn more about you and Jiggy? Where can people
Sorry?
go to learn more about you and the company?
Oh, so yeah, so our website is getcheeky.com. We're actually running a great sale right now, 40% off. We'd love to help any teeth grinders out there sleep better at night or whiten their teeth or get a new floss, whatever it is. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or via email. Happy to
That's great.
always
So
chat.
for everyone listening to this or watching this, why not? First off, thank you. Second, if you go to the DTCinsider.com and look for the podcast section, you will see the show notes, including the LinkedIn handle, the website, and everything else we discussed on the episode. And of course, if you like the episode, click that subscribe button on YouTube. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. And the most important thing, this is why I do it, share it with someone that you think that this might be helpful, because this is the point, helping people, helping us between each other to, learn from someone like Samuel and from his experience. So again, thank you all. And Samuel, thank you again for being here.
Thanks so much, Brian, for having me. It was great talking with you and hope to speak soon.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.